Hi everyone! I'm so excited to see you guys again. The lesson this week's going to be a lot of fun, but you have to pay close attention because we're going to be playing bingo throughout the lesson. So you got to pay close attention to find all the pictures. Are you ready? "400 years had passed since Joseph's family came to Egypt. That is a long time. Many children were born, grew up, and had children of their own. They were called the children of Israel. Do you remember how Joseph helped the Pharaoh of Egypt so that his people wouldn't go hungry? Well, after he died, other pharaohs ruled over Egypt, and they forgot about what Joseph had done for them and how he helped them. One of the pharaohs had a really bad idea. He said, 'There are too many Israelites. We should make them our slaves.' So they did. But Israel only grew bigger. The Pharaoh had a worse idea. 'We should hurt all the newborn baby boys of Israel.' Many mothers were very sad that Pharaoh would hurt their babies. One mother's name was Jochebed. She gave birth to a son. For 3 months she hid her baby because she loved him very much. But she couldn't hide him forever. Babies do start to cry and make lots of sounds. Jochebed thought of how she could protect her son from the bad Pharaoh and his men. She took a basket and she coated it with tar to make it able to float. She put her baby in the basket. Then she went to the Nile. There were reeds at the edge of the water. Reeds are tall grass that grows in water. Jochebed hid the basket in the reeds. The baby had an older sister named Miriam. Jochebed told Miriam, 'Wait here and watch the basket.' Miriam waited. The Pharaoh had a daughter. She went to the river to take a bath. As she and her slaves were walking, she noticed a basket in the reeds. 'Go get that basket. I want to see what's inside,' she said to one of her slaves. The slaves waded into the river and returned with the basket. 'It's a baby,' said Pharaoh's daughter. The baby was crying and she felt sorry for him. The Pharaoh's daughter knew that a mother from Israel had hid the baby there to save him. She decided that she would take the baby as her own. Miriam saw that her brother had been found by Pharaoh's daughter. She ran up to her. 'Princess, princess, would you like me to find a woman of Israel to care for the baby?' 'Yes, please.' So Miriam ran home to her mother. Jochebed came to the river. 'Take and care for this baby,' said the Pharaoh's daughter. 'I will pay you.' Jochebed took her baby home and cared for him until he was older. Then she took him to the Pharaoh's daughter. The Pharaoh's daughter was happy to see her adopted son. 'I will call him Moses because I drew him from the water.' God had protected Moses by having the Pharaoh's daughter adopt. Moses grew up with Pharaoh's daughter as his mother, but he knew he was an Israelite. Do you remember that I told you that the Israelites were slaves? Well, one day he was out walking and he saw an Egyptian man being mean to an Israelite. Moses wanted to help. He hurt the Egyptian to help his fellow Israelite. When the Pharaoh heard what Moses had done, he became very angry. 'Moses will be punished.' Well, Moses ran away into the desert. He ran for a long time. At last, he reached a place where he found a well. He saw some young woman who was watering her sheep. Some other mean shepherd tried to drive them away. Moses stood up to the bad shepherds to protect and help the young woman. Her father was grateful and gave Moses a job and one of his daughters to marry. Many years passed. Moses worked tending the sheep for his father-in-law. One day, he was watching sheep when he spotted something. It was a bush that was on fire, but it didn't burn up. Moses knew that a bush on fire should burn up. 'What a strange sight,' he said. 'I must get a closer look.' He turned toward the burning bush. "Moses, Moses!" the voice came from the burning bush. "Do bushes talk?" "Here I am," said Moses. "Remove your sandals. This place is holy. I am the Lord God." Moses was afraid. He hid his face. God said, "The Egyptians have been mean to my people, the Israelites. I have heard them crying for me for help. I will free them and send them to a good land. You will go to Pharaoh and tell him to set my people free." Moses was filled with doubt and asked God, "Who am I to do this?" "I will be with you," God said. "You will go to the Pharaoh, but he will not listen to you. I will do many miracles, and then the Israelites will go free." "How will they know I speak the truth?" Moses asked. God told Moses to throw his staff on the ground. Moses did what God said. Instantly, the staff turned into a snake. Moses was very afraid and ran away from it. God commanded Moses to pick up the snake by the tail, and it became a staff again. God also gave Moses another sign to show people that he spoke the truth. But Moses still did not want to go. "Please send someone else, Lord. I am not good enough at speaking," Moses begged. God was angry at Moses, but he said, "I will give you your brother Aaron as a helper. He will speak words for you." So God sent Aaron to meet Moses. Moses told Aaron all the things God had spoken. Together they went to the people of Israel. "God will free us," Aaron said. He performed the miracles God taught Moses. The people of Israel believed. They were grateful God would deliver them and worship the Lord. Moses had a second chance to help his people. God would give him the strength to do so. Moses obeyed God and went to Pharaoh with the message God gave him. "Let my people go." But Pharaoh said no. Moses went to the water of the river and touched it. Instantly, it turned into blood. No one could drink the water from the river. The Egyptians were very thirsty. But Pharaoh's heart hardened. "I will not let your people go." 7 days passed. God told Moses to go back to Pharaoh. Moses said to him, "God says to let my people go, or your country will be covered in frogs." Pharaoh said no. The whole land was covered in frogs. Pharaoh called Moses. "I will let your people go if you get rid of the frogs." Moses did, but Pharaoh's heart hardened. "I changed my mind. I will not let your people go." God then decided to make all the dust of Egypt into gnats. All day and all night they buzzed, but Pharaoh's heart was hard. He would not listen. Then God sent flies, but only to the Egyptians. The Israelites had no flies. Pharaoh and his people were very unhappy. "I will let you make your sacrifices, but you must not go far." Moses prayed, and the flies left. Do you think Pharaoh's heart hardened again? Yes, he refused to let the Israelites go. Moses warned Pharaoh that God would strike down his livestock next. Livestock gives us meat and milk and cheese, but Pharaoh refused to obey God's command. So all the livestock died, but the animals of the Israelites were fine. Then God sent boils. Boils are very bad spots they had all over their bodies. The Egyptians were in pain and very unhappy, but Pharaoh said, "I will not let your people go." Next was the hail. Hail is ice that falls from the sky like rain. But the hail was worse than other hails. If it struck animals or people, they would die. It destroyed plants and trees. Pharaoh called Moses and Aaron. "I have sinned. Please pray and make the hail go away. I will let you go." Moses did. But Pharaoh hardened his heart again. "I will not let you go." Moses told Pharaoh that God would send locusts. Locusts eat everything green. Pharaoh's helpers said to him, "Let his people go. All of Egypt is being destroyed." "I will only let some of the Israelites go," Pharaoh said. Moses said they all had to go, so Pharaoh refused. Moses stretched out his staff and the locust came. Everything green in Egypt was eaten. Still, Pharaoh's heart was hardened. Then God made a great darkness fall over all Egypt. No one could see or move for 3 days. Pharaoh called Moses, "I will let you go, but your animals will remain here. We need them to worship God." Pharaoh's heart grew harder still. "Get out of my sight." Moses warned Pharaoh that God had one more plague. It was the very worst of them all. Unless Pharaoh obeyed, the eldest son of every family would die. Only those who put blood on their doors would be saved. Do you think Pharaoh obeyed? Sadly, no. He still refused to listen to God, so God did what he had promised. The Egyptians were very sad because God had punished them for disobeying. Pharaoh called Moses and said, "Go. You are free. Leave us alone." Moses and all the people of Israel left Egypt. God had freed them from slavery. It's always important to obey God. God did many miracles to free the Israelites from slavery. Finally, Pharaoh told the Israelites to leave Egypt. The Israelites were very happy to be free. Soon after they left, though, Pharaoh started to think, "I wish I hadn't released the Israelites. I want them to come back and be our slaves again." He called his helpers, and they all agreed that they should not have let the Israelites go. "Let's go after them and bring them back to be our slaves." Pharaoh ordered his servants to grab their armor and chariots. A chariot is a special carriage behind a horse that can be very fast. The Egyptians would have no problem catching up to the Israelites. Soon, Pharaoh and his men found Moses and his people. They were camped next to the Red Sea. The sea was very big and very deep. There's no bridge, with the Egyptians behind them, and the sea in front of them. The Israelites had nowhere to go. Do you think God had forgotten them? They were very scared. Moses said, "Do not be afraid. God will protect us. We do not have to fight the Egyptians, because God will do our fight for us." The angel of the Lord, who had been leading the Israelites, moved to stand between them and the Egyptians. God told Moses to raise his staff over the sea. A very strong wind began to blow. The waters of the Red Sea had divided, and the ground in the middle was dry. The Israelites stepped onto the path between the walls of water and began to walk across the bottom of the sea. They crossed to the other side. Only the Egyptians followed them into the sea. The Egyptians still thought they could make the Israelites be their slaves again, but things were not going well for them. Their chariot wheels didn't work, and they were confused. "Let's go home," they shouted. "The Lord is fighting for the Israelites." Then God told Moses to wave his staff again. The giant walls of water crashed back down into place. All the Egyptians who had tried to hurt the Israelites were swept away. The Israelites saw all that God had done to protect them from the Egyptians. They feared him and put their trust in him. They were also filled with joy. They wanted to praise God. Moses and all the people began to sing a song of God. Miriam, Moses' sister, and her friends played instruments. Together, they all praised God for saving them from the Egyptians.
Our Bible verse for this week is Jeremiah 29:11, and it says, "For I know the thoughts that I think towards you, saith the Lord, thoughts of peace and not of evil, to give you an expected end." Jeremiah 29:11. Now it's your turn. Practice at home, and don't forget to record your videos. Thank you for joining me again this week, guys. I hope you had a great time, and I want you to know that I had a great time too. And I miss you all so very much, and I can't wait to see you, and we'll see you again next week.